Hello everybody, this is Hua. Welcome back to my YouTube storytelling channel. Today I invite you to come and listen to a story that I wrote called The Promise Ring. Now this one has a bit of mystery, a bit of horror, a little bit of everything actually. So come on in, relax, and enjoy.
Sacred words inside us, filling yes worlds and thunderbolts. Set all dreams new.
A ring serves as a promise to love someone honestly and truly. It serves as a reminder for someone else looking in that a certain individual is spoken for. But too often, the promise that comes with a ring is broken and looked upon as an item that can be easily replaced. For Tina, it was exactly that. Replacing her was easy to do when it came to her husband of 20 years. Tina and Joe had been together since she could remember, and the proposal and promise came shortly after college. Their early years of struggle to get by when they were both young and unemployed led to their staying in the garage house with their parents. They practically ate soup right out of the can and had 2 plastic spoons to their name. It was a love story unlike any other stories, and Tina adored the life they had, even though they barely made it on some days. The promise ring Joe gave her was a ring pop after he'd eaten the candy, and she wrapped it in a plastic bag, sticking it into her purse. She still carried it to today, even though he'd been able to replace it with a simple oval diamond ring over the years. You would think that any story that had these amount of love would last for an eternity. But people change, and sometimes they are left behind. The morning shower helped Tina feel better, as her body ached in places she never thought possible. Last night had been another lonely night as Joe didn't come home. She'd waited past midnight, and when her eyes closed on her, she decided she'd best let the man decide where he wanted to stay. She knew he would eventually choose the other woman. But in her heart, she'd prayed and prayed he would come home. It didn't even feel like she'd been married to Joe for 20 years. The number she counted seemed impossible, because some people don't even live that long. And here she was, married to the same man for 2 decades, and feeling depleted and unfavored as a woman. That's what the fairy tales don't tell you. They don't tell you the Cinderella and the prince fought every day because he never picked up after himself. That's the truth about a relationship. There's fights, there's struggle, there's hate. Tina didn't hate Joe. Currently, she wasn't liking him very much, but she couldn't hate him. He was the man who took her virginity, the man who showed her what it meant to be loved, and the man who gave her a promise to love her forever. But lately, he'd been lacking in every single department of love and marriage, because lately, Joe had found someone else to give his petty promises to, and she'd been left feeling the loneliness of an empty marriage. After her shower, she came down the stairs to find Joe's mother, Connie, standing at the door talking on the phone. Connie was in her 60s, a big-boned woman, and had a loud voice that could be heard 3 blocks away. She never liked Tina, and always thought she'd stolen Joe away from her. Connie was a single mother raising both Joe and his brother Tim alone, and she fought hard to stay by their side. Tina didn't mind, but at times she felt suffocated. She walked to open the door just to hear Connie say goodbye to Joe on the phone. "Tina," she said as she pushed herself in, "where's Joe?" Tina rolled her eyes. "Weren't you just talking to him on the phone?" Connie laughed, her cheeks blushed, and she replied, "I'm sorry. You heard that, didn't you?" "I can hear everything you say, Connie. Your voice knows no other tone." Connie's smile faded as she replied, "Look, I'm here for moral support. Joe asked me to come by. He's drafting divorce papers right now as we speak. He's found someone else, and he wants you to leave." Smiling, Tina walked to sit down on a stool and cleared her throat. "I'm not leaving, Connie. I bought this house with him, and if he wants me to leave, he'll have to buy me out." "Look, honey, don't make this difficult." Tina laughed. Don't say that. Don't tell me not to make it difficult, okay? You have no idea what Joe and I share. I don't know what happened with his damn eyes to think that I'm no longer enough for him. But we started this with nothing, and we'll end this with nothing if we have to. But you have no place or say in who will go or stay in this marriage. You don't share a bed with me, and you certainly do not pay any of my bills. So if Joe sent you here for moral support, you can walk out of here and go tell him that I don't need anything from you. I never did, Connie. Connie let out a heavy breath. You're being a bitch, you know that? It's why Joe can stand you. Yeah, he can stand you either. That makes two of us. Are you happy now? Don't get me involved. Tina stood up. You involved yourself, Connie. She felt the anger hit her harder than she'd expected. I mean, look at yourself. You're here delivering a message from him to me, pretending to be on my side. What do you think will happen? You don't get credit for being a good woman because you never were. From day one, you hated me and always told Joe to kick me out. Well, now I'm kicking him out. Connie shook her head. You know, Joe was right. You are delusional and you need help. You hold on to everything in your life with tight rings and you deserve to be alone. My son loved you the best way he knew how, and you're still hating him for making a better choice. He'll be much happier without you, Tina, and you can go try to fix yourself or just drown. Either way, we no longer care. Connie turned and walked out as Tina dropped back onto the stool and felt the heavy tears drown her. What a joke. To come here and pretend to be caring when really she wanted a showdown to make her and her son feel as if they did nothing wrong. If they thought she wouldn't fight, they were wrong. The house they bought sat on 30 acres of land and housed both a home and a barn. For years, Joe had talked about owning a farm where they could live their lives freely without the worry of neighbors. Just when they had figured everything out, he took himself out of the country and back into the busy city life. She was left holding down the fort, but she didn't care anymore. She was ready to walk away from the toxic lies Joe had been feeding her. She was ready to get rid of everything, and that included him. She was in the garden pulling weeds when she saw his car drive up. He had brought his mistress with him, and when she appeared wearing a slinking red dress and strappy shoes, Tina wanted to laugh. Joe was holding her like a child, making sure she didn't fall or trip. Tina wished she would fall into a pile of manure so she could laugh. The woman had a short bob and had put in some lowlights into her blonde hair. She looked like she was heading to a club in the broad daylight. My mother called me and told me everything that happened. You are lucky that I'm not pressing charges against you for scaring her, Joe said as he unlocked the gate and started toward her. And you're going to be handed a restraining order if you take one more step toward me, Tina warned as she stood and took the gloves off her hands. You're not welcomed here, and neither is your skank. Excuse me, the woman cried. Tina had forgotten the woman's name and didn't care to learn it anymore. Joe reached out a hand to stop her from going forward, and he gave her a cold stare. Look, let's just be adults here and get this over with. I am an adult, Joe. The only one who is not is you. You chose to break a vow and you're asking me to be kind? It doesn't work that way in the adult world. Your mother passed on your message to me, and if she was as good as she claimed to be, she would have told you what I said without twisting any truth. He shoved a hand through his hair. Tina, quit being so goddamn stubborn, and let's just sign the divorce papers so that we can get this over and done with. We bought the farm together, and we should sell it together and split the money. If you keep it, it means you have to buy me out, Tina replied with a grin. And that's exactly what I want. You want me out of your life? Buy me out. And if you don't have the cash, pawn that piece of junk on your skank's neck. The woman let out a cry and pointed a finger at her. You stupid broad. Joe doesn't even care about you anymore. Why can't you just leave us alone? Tina smiled. Who is at whose house, skank? Shut up, Joe cried. Both of you. Fine. If you want to do it the hard way, I'll buy you out. But from here on out, nothing comes out of my pockets for you anymore. I'm just glad we didn't have any children together. Tina laughed, and then she crossed her arms. Did you tell a skank that? That your sperm can't swim up to create babies? Joe's face paled, and his jaw hardened. The woman turned to look at her. her eyes full of questions. Tina laughed and shook her head. Poor woman. She didn't even know, did she? What is she talking about? She asked. Nothing, Joe cried. It's not nothing, Tina said as she walked toward them. You should tell her the truth. 20 years together and no children. That's questionable on both our ends until the medical team provides evidence that it's your sperm that can't procreate. Any woman wanting to be your wife ought to know the truth about yourself, Joe. Is she serious? The woman asked. Joe, what the hell is she talking about? Get in the car, Joe cried. Go, now! The woman made a face and turned to glare at Tina before walking back toward the vehicle. Joe turned and pointed a finger at her, his eyes dark and full of hate. This is the last time you and I will ever talk. Fine by me, Joe. He turned, and Tina heard footsteps running toward her. Immediately she was shoved to the ground by Joe, and he had his hands around her neck. Her breathing was cut off, and she felt her vision begin to fade. You ungrateful woman. I spent more than half my life loving you, and you have aged me to no return. How dare you mock my pain and take everything from me, he cried. Tina felt her breath cutting off, and she reached up and felt his eyes. Shoving her thumbs into them, she pushed as hard as she could. Joe cried out in pain and let her go. She coughed violently as he stumbled backward. She ran toward the barn, and he came after her. Grabbing the shovel on the wall, she swung, and it missed as he ducked. He cried out in anger as she swung again, and this time he took a hold of it, pulling it from her hands. He swung, and Tina ducked too late. The shovel took a chunk of skin from her shoulder, and she screamed as she hurried up the stairs to the upper level. She heard Joe calling out her name, and as he grabbed her hair, pulled her to him, she bit down on his hand. He yelped and then shoved her down, pinning her underneath him with his weight. Why are you being this way, Tina? You know you can never give me up, he cried. She slapped him across the face and cried out, You left me. You left me for some woman who isn't even as good as me. That's because you stopped needing me. You stopped wanting me. How can a man stay with a woman who no longer looks at him the same way? I have loved you all of my life, Tina, but you turned away from me the moment you lost yourself. You hated me even when I was only trying to help you, Joe whispered. She started crying as she said, You didn't try to help me. You left me for her. You brought another woman into the bed and laid with her while I was still your wife. You lied to me. You cheated on me. You hurt me. Joe shook his head. After all these years, and you're still claiming you did nothing to me. You think you're so innocent? Tina sobbed and replied, I am innocent. I have never hurt anyone in my life. I have only loved and loved more. Suddenly Joe's face turned an ashen gray color, and he took her hand to touch his heart. Then what is this? Wasn't it you who put this here? Tina gazed at where her hand was, and saw that it was full of blood and bits of blown-apart skin. She blinked and looked again at Joe, who had blood trickling down the side of his face. Joe? What is going on? Tina asked. Ask yourself, Tina. Ask yourself. What did you do? Do you remember what you did? And Tina felt her world shatter, and when she opened her eyes, she was once again standing at the front door where Connie was ending a phone call with Joe. What just happened? She didn't open the door, and Connie knocked, her eyes widening at the sight of Tina standing still. Tina, open the door, Connie yelled. It was déjà vu, reliving something that already happened. Or was it predicting something that would happen in her future? Tina began to shake, her hands out of control, and she ran up the stairs to the bedroom. There, she looked in the mirror and saw small specks of blood splattered over her face. She touched it, and then saw the trail of blood that led to the bathroom. Following it, Tina found the mistress's body in the tub. She was naked, butchered into pieces, and her eyes staring up at Tina. Stepping back, she fell over a bloody saw and felt her body shake. What happened? She heard the sound of Connie's car driving away, and she rushed down the stairs and out the front door toward the barn. Following the steps of what looked like a brutal encounter, she found Joe dangling from the hooks that were used to hold up a cow for killing. His eyes were wide opened, and she felt her heart hammering in her chest. "Joe?" she asked, and then she walked to him and raised her hand to touch the body. Then she walked to him and raised her hand to touch the blood seeping from his opened chest. "Joe?" His body jerked, and she screamed, stepping backwards, falling over her own feet. What happened? She pushed herself to stand and watched his body lightly sway before her. She didn't remember doing anything. Was she innocent? She looked at her hands, and they were shaking. Confused, she turned around, and out of the shadow came Connie. Her shirt was a massive array of blood and mixed pieces of flesh. Tina dropped her hands and watched as Connie stepped forward, a grin on her face that was splattered with Joe's blood. "Connie? I thought you left. What is going on here?" Tina asked. Connie smiled and pushed a strand of hair away from her eyes. "I always hated that boy. He was a curse to me." Rolling her head, she let out a deep breath and looked at Tina with hollow eyes. "I never wanted him. His father just didn't care enough to take him. Joe was too much of a hassle. I hated everything about him. He reminded me every day what a failure I was as a mother." And then tears filled her eyes. "So many times I wanted to kill him. And then you came along, and you took him out of my life. I was so happy, and yet I couldn't wait for the perfect moment to celebrate my win." Laughing, she walked toward Tina and extended a hand. "But now I can walk away free and pin everything on you. I can just tell the police that you went wild because of your jealousy toward his new mistress, and everyone will believe it because I planned the perfect murder. No one will suspect me." "You were his mother, and you were his wife," Connie cried. "You were the one he spent time inside of, not me. Yet you let him down, and the whole world will see now you as a murderer and never the dear, sad wife anymore. Everyone will comfort me, like how I always wanted to be comforted." "You're crazy," Tina shouted. "You're a crazy woman." "Don't you dare call me crazy." Connie ran toward her and wrapped her hands around her neck. "You don't get to call me crazy. I am his mother. I am his mother." Tina brought up her knee to kick her in the lower belly, and the woman let out a howl as she dropped her hands. Using her elbows, she brought them down against Connie's back as she fell to her knees. Reaching behind her, she grabbed the rake and swung, hitting Connie across the shoulder. She swung again, and it smashed into Connie's head. Tina dropped it and took off running toward the gate, where her car was parked. She could hear Connie howling behind her, and as she rushed to the driver's side, she pulled the door open, and there inside, sitting in the passenger seat, was Joe. Shocked, she let out a scream and backed away as he got out of the car. "Going somewhere?" he asked. "What is going on here?" Tina asked, confusion swimming into her mind. The sirens were heard, and she looked up at Joe, who showed her his hand with his ring. "Promises are kept, Tina. You said that yourself. You made sure no one could leave. My mother, who butchered my girlfriend. Me, who broke the promise. And yourself. We're all stuck here now, Tina. One big, happy family." When Tina looked down at herself, she was wearing a wedding gown, and Joe's face had turned an ashen gray. Reaching out his hand to her, he wickedly gave her a smile and whispered, "In life we couldn't be together. Now in death, we'll never leave one another." Thank you for tuning in. I hope that you enjoyed that story. I will see you in the next episode.
Sacred words inside us, filling years, worlds and thunderbolts. Sacked old dreams, new mediocre, find new ways to overdrive. You can find of yellow ochre.